Hey guys, happy Valentine's Day if you celebrate it, and happy Friday if you don't. We had McDonald's. It was delicious. Yay! Happy Valentine's Day. This week, as you know by now, we've been talking about sex and all kinds of miscellaneous things that goes along with it. And we were kind of rehashing this before I started, and the most important thing that we could both think of when it comes to sex was communication. And I know that's frustrating because everybody about everything is always like, well, if you just talk about it, it'll be fine. And it's the truth, which is why it's annoying, because I suck at communication, and I often wish that there were other ways to figure things out than having to freaking talk about it. But when it comes to sex with another human being, you need to talk about it. Beforehand is better. Because let's just say you are with your trans sweetie and you're in the middle of this hot, sexy moment, and then one of you accidentally does something that crosses the other one's boundaries, and then, like, the moment is gone. Not intentionally, you weren't being mean, just, one of you did something that makes the other person uncomfortable, and that's why it is so much easier to talk about it beforehand as opposed to during, or, an hour later after you're done crying, whatever. And reasons for that is that everyone has things that they're dysphoric about, whether you're trans or not, but trans people have areas that kind of generally dysphoric about, I guess, miscellaneous parts, and so as a partner, it really helps if you know ahead of time what your trans partner's sensitive areas are, and what do they call them, how do you navigate them, are you allowed to touch them, and vice versa, because you could very possibly have huge boundaries on some areas of your own, and again, that's why you have to talk about it beforehand. Yeah. And then it's really, really, really important for the both of you to kind of make it a safe environment to discuss such things, because, like I was saying, I'm not very good at communicating, and I used to just kind of clam up if I didn't want to talk about it. I'd just stop. And then my poor Gavin is like, trying desperately to get me to talk about it, but I couldn't, and it wasn't that it was a good environment, I just was really bad at communication. So that's something that we have worked on a lot over the last 3.5 years, is building a safe environment so that we can discuss with each other things that are potentially upsetting, for whatever reason. Now, on building your safe environment note, there was a girl on the channel a while back who, anyways, her and her partner, they just took an afternoon off, and I want to say they built a fort out of pillows. That might be my hope. But they built a safe little environment. They scheduled time to get together and to talk about things and kind of navigate their way through them and play their way through them. And personally, I imagine it probably ended up being pretty cool, because, you're half naked with someone that you're really into, and I'm just saying it could go good places. So, number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and 6, you have to talk about it. You have to be able to communicate about it. You have to talk about it. If you do it beforehand, it's less awkwardness later. So, because people have dysphorias, and because people have boundaries, and it's not you, so you don't know exactly what they're thinking. Talk about it. Alright, something really important, too, that I hear a lot of people fussing about is having differences in libidos between you and your trans partner, or your trans partner and you, obviously. But kind of like you're really, really into it and they're not, and they're really, really into it and you're not, and then without discussing why, people just kind of brush it by because it's an awkward subject, and eventually you start to take it personally. Whoever's doing all the asking and whoever's saying all the no's, like, it ends up being kind of a unpleasant and uncomfortable and horrible thing to talk about. Now, you gotta talk about it, especially with the sex drive, because as a female-bodied person, I don't know, if I'm tired, I'm not into it. If I'm cranky, I'm not into it. If I don't feel good, I'm not into it. And back in the day, I did not explain that very well, and poor Gavin, all Gavin was hearing was that I was just saying no, and that sucks. So we have learned to, if it's a no, why is it a no? And how can they help it become a yes tomorrow or something? I think one of the simplest things for us is that when I get overwhelmed, I don't feel sexual. So if he can see that I'm doing that, if I can tell him that I'm doing that, then he'll jump in and help with whatever I was feeling overwhelmed about, and then I'm not overwhelmed, and then it could go to good places. Because, yeah, what we've had to learn is to explain to the other that it's not personal. I'm not mad at you. That's not why I'm, that's where this is. And then something, too, that we had to learn for us was, are you looking for sex or are you looking for intimacy? Because they're very different things. Because there's all kinds of intimacies, and you need it, possibly more or less. I don't know. You need to be able to feel intimate with your partner, and you can be intimate with them without ever having sex. There's lots and lots of other ways to experience intimacy with your partner. So, yeah, you gotta kind of figure out what exactly it is that you're needing. Oh, sorry guys, I'm rambling a whole lot. I promise I'll get better. I've been out of practice of doing the whole video thing. But before I go, if you guys have been hearing the Facebook gender change thing more than just male and female, I'm going to put a link down at the bottom of this so that you guys can, figure out how to do it if you haven't yet. So, alright. I hope the rest of your Valentine's Day / Friday is wonderful and good.